So in this lesson we're going to work on finding a percentage of a quantity, and we're going to use the decimal equivalent method. So our question is, find 23% of £750. So to do this we need to change the percentage to a decimal. So I put a grid in to remind you how percentages and decimals relate. So first of all, 1 is thought of as 100%, because basically a percentage is an amount out of 100. So 1 equals 100 out of 100, which we call 100%. So working with fractions, numbers that are less than 1, then we can equate our percentages to our decimals. So for example, 50% would be a half, because 50 is half of 100. 20% would be equal to 0.2. 20% equals 2/10, which equals 0.2. So hopefully this will have reminded you of work you've already covered, and you're comfortable changing your percentage into a decimal. So for this question, well, you need to write 23% as 0.23 and simply multiply that by 750 to get our answer, which is 172.5. Some more examples. Find 12% of 7,000. So 12% is 0.12. If you're not quite sure, go back in the video and look at the chart. 0.12 times 7,000. And you'll find that comes to 84. Right, 8% of £12.80. Well, we have to be careful with 8%. It's very tempting to write in 0.8. But 0.8 is equivalent to 80%. 8% is less than 10%, and 10% would be 0.1, so it's in fact 0.08. So watch out for that, that's a common mistake, to use 0.8. So times it by £12.80, pick up your calculator to work out the answer, which comes to 1.024. Now this time you are using a unit pounds, so we really want to write this in pounds and 2 decimal places. So we need to round that to 2 decimal places, so it's in pounds and pennies. So finally find 5.25% of 1200. Remember, 5 is less than 10, so you're going to need a 0.0 before you write the 5. And just simply write the other numbers without putting an extra point in. So you've now written the decimal equivalent of 5.25%. So you now multiply 0.0525 times 1200. Use your calculator to get the answer, which comes to 63. So I'd now like you to try the examples that you see on your screen. So you need to stop the video now, work through the questions. That should take about 10 to 15 minutes, and then restart the video when you want to see the answers, which will come next. Okay, so now check your answers that you've written into your exercise book, which you should have done, and give yourself a mark out of 30 at the end. So you've now come to the last part of the lesson, where we'll look at some slightly harder problems when you're finding a percentage of a quantity. So in these examples, we're either finding a percentage of amount that's over 100 or less than 10, and these are slightly more difficult. You can stop the video now and try them if you feel confident enough to do so, or you can watch me do 2 examples and then stop and do the rest. So here are 2 examples for you. I'll do the first one. If you're finding 120% of 3,000, you need to remember that 1 equals 100%, so the decimal equivalent of 120 will be 1.2. So you need to do 1.2 times 3,000. And then you can finish that on your calculator. The other type I want to show you is finding a percentage of 300 which is less than 10%. So the percentage in all these questions is less than 10%, and there's a kind of real extension question here that I'll leave you to try. So finding 3.5% of 300, we need to remember that we need a 0, and then it's 3.5. And that's because we're below 10%. So there's always a 0 when you change into a decimal for anything that's below 10%. Then times by 300. So times by 300, and you can finish that with your calculator. So stop the video and do the remaining questions, and then when you want to see the answers, start the video again. So here are all your answers with the working out, so please check them off, and if you've got them all right, you've got 8 out of 8. Give yourself the mark that you got for this section. If you got some wrong, go back in the video, try and look at the techniques for each type you've been shown and come back and correct your mistakes. Okay, that's the end of this lesson on finding a percentage of a quantity.